Most years, I've watched Britain's Got Talent and enjoyed it. I think I started watching after the year Paul Potts won. In fact, 2 years ago, when I found out Michael McIntyre was on the show, I was excited a good few months before the show even aired on TV. But this year, I watched the first episode, some of the second episode, and that was it until the semi-final, because I wasn't too bothered about it. I thought that when the semis come round, I could just watch the good acts without having to watch them the first time round whilst watching other awful acts over the course of a number of hours. Which I'm usually alright with, but this year I couldn't be bothered. One thing that really confused me, and does it every year, even this year, and I didn't watch much, on the semi-finals, there's always a few acts that are shit. And we know they're shit, yet they're put through. And the judges are surprised when they're not entertained. And some of them aren't really that talented anyway. It's so pointless, yet seems to happen every year. Okay, now on to the final. If you are following my tweets, then you would know what I thought about a few of the acts, like Steve Hewlett and Jack Harrell. This year's final seemed more like the Junior X Factor, and yeah, I know I tweeted that. Because there was a singer, fuck me, singer. But yeah, you get the idea. There are a lot of fucking singers. And a mate of mine argues, what's wrong with them going on the X Factor? Which is a valid argument, except most of them aren't 16. You have to be 16 to go on the X Factor. Alright, let's start with preschool. The young people, they are talented, I'll give them that. But there's a bunch of them, and they're all on stage at the same time, and they look lost half the time, I'm not gonna lie. It does get on my nerves a bit. I don't particularly think they should be on the show. I mean, there's Young, and then there's that. Jordan O'Keefe. Well, he's just a typical teenager that loves to write songs and sing, really. I mean, girls are gonna go crazy over him because he has the looks, and he can sing. I don't think he's anything special. There's hundreds of people that can sing around the UK. He's only big because the fact that he can sing is helped by his looks. Let's face it, if you had an ugly cunt singing there on the stage, wearing what he did, he wouldn't have got through. Unless he was a kid, of course, because kids seem to be ruling this year's show. Asanda, I have to admit, I did like her performances, but the fact that she kept repeating the same artist was a little bit annoying. I mean, once is fine. Twice makes me think, okay, you could change it up next time. But a third time, and at the final. Come on, have some creativity. Think of anybody else. Anybody in the world. Doesn't have to be that big. Just has to be a singer that has done a song that you can sing. Okay? It's not hard. The Luminites. I have to admit, I preferred them as singers to a lot of the other contestants. Purely because what the judges says about them is quite true. They all can do different things within the group. But seriously, they could have gone on the X Factor. Okay, they probably wouldn't have won it, but the point is they could have gone on it. I suppose the only thing stopping them is the fact that they know they probably wouldn't win the X Factor, and the fact that one of them does something that isn't even singing. One of them just makes sounds. He's good at it, but that's not really singing, and that's what the group's about. When they're interviewed, at the end of their performance, they have no words to say. If you're going to be a good group, which they are, in my opinion, have something to say to make the British public vote for you. If you're just going to say, oh, I'm surprised by the comments you said this time, I really wasn't expecting that. But if you say that more than once, which is what they did, then you're going to be a bit concerned for them. As you can probably tell, I'm going from the people I disliked most to the ones I'm going through the ones that I dislike first, then I'm making my way to the ones I did like. But I was going to leave these till last, but I may as well cover it now. Alexander. Weird name, but never mind. She was very good, but I'm not a massive fan of opera singers. Not that this was really opera. To me, it was more of an Adele style mixed with Whitney Houston. And I'm probably going to talk about her the least. But in my eyes, she's good, but she's not a winner. And of course, every time she performed, they brought up Bruce Forsyth. Do it once, it's fine. Do it twice, it's getting a bit annoying. the fact that they did it after her performance and a lot of other performances, we get the point. He said something, shut up about it. And now, Richard and Adam. Of course, no one really looks back on that and remembers them singing. They remember one thing, and if you couldn't tell by the jokes that were constantly mentioned all night long on that TV show after it happened, and I mean, they really overdid it. It was the egg situation, where a woman came on stage, threw eggs at Simon Cowell, which we all kind of wish we could have done really, but never mind, and then she got dragged off stage. Like I said, the amount of jokes that were made about this, both by the people on television and by newspapers, it gets a bit old. And I mean, by the time I saw the headline the next day, I was sick of it. The amount of jokes they made during the TV show was enough. Guess what? That performance was excellent. Shut the fuck up. To me, after they kept the jokes up for a while, it seems like that was the only entertaining thing about that performance. And in my opinion, it was. And now, Jack Carroll. Many people will say he got votes just for his disability. And for some people that may be true, they may have voted for that reason, but I genuinely think he was funny. Some of the jokes I didn't understand, as you may have seen from my Twitter, but 9 out of 10 jokes were funny, and I did understand them. I honestly see a good future for this kid. I actually saw him on the YouTube video that they showed on the air, but the full version. I think it's great that he can take his disability and make a joke out of it. I mean, you don't get many people doing that nowadays. There's a lot of stuff I could say about him. Good things, by the way, not bad things. But I'm going to move on to the next person. Oh, I did it in a weird order. I prefer Jack to Francine, but I'm going to do Francine next anyway. Okay, Francine. I found her funny, but the thing is, not all of her impressions I got. The ones I did, I found funny, but like the Alan Carr one, for instance, that one I found funny, but when I look back on it, I realised it's not as good as I thought it was. There's one thing that really did get on my nerves, and that's the fact that she kept repeating the same material. I mean, it's nice to have a trademark and everything, but when you're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over, it does get to a point where you're like, yeah, I've seen this one now, you can move on to the next. Just move on, okay, it's done. But no, she did a few new ones, but other than that, she kept saying the same thing about the same person. I can only stand it to a point, and eventually, I'm not going to be the only one who decides that I don't want to see the same material over and over anymore. Now, although I liked the wild card better than the actual winners, I am going to do the winners last, because it's only fair, they won it. Right, so the wild card was Steve Hewlett, and I found him so funny. Every performance he gave, it was brilliant. Even when I watched his performance at the semi-final a second time, I found it hilarious still. I honestly think that he could be as big as Jeff Dunham. Please tell me you know who that is. If not, Google it right now. But I definitely see a big future for him. He is very good at what he does, and he's very funny at what he does. Now, the winner, Attraction. I didn't see their audition, but they showed a video of the audition, and I really did like it. Their semi-final, I found that brilliant. The fact that they can tell a story like that, just using their body and maybe one or two props, that is pure talent, whether you're British or not. And like the judges said, they can use that in any language they want, and people will still understand. Now, I don't like the fact that they're not British, yet they won Britain's Got Talent, but the point is, like I said, you don't have to be British to understand what they're trying to get across. You can be any language. It still gets the message. And at the final, their performance was dedicated to Britain for giving them the chance. I have to admit, I did find that very respectful, and I like the fact that they did that. It shows that they're not just foreigners who are coming over here to try and win money. Well, they might be, but it doesn't look like that. Overall, this year's final, it wasn't as good as previous years. But I have to admit, there's certain acts which I did find as good as other years. I did enjoy them as much as other years. And I hope that they have a future. And if you're on Britain's Got Talent, we'll know that you become someone big.